So today I want to talk to you about the impact of the clocks springing forward an hour here in the UK every spring, especially if you're a runner. So if that's going to resonate with you, or you want to find out more, keep on watching, keep on listening. Welcome back to consecutive day 1767 of a diary of a runpreneur. And today's topic is all about when the clocks spring forward an hour every spring here in the UK and what that means to somebody who runs regularly. So before we get into it, please don't forget that this vlog is part of a fundraiser of saving the lives of children by attempting the ultimate ultramarathon of run vlogging on consecutive days a distance of a lap of the world, barefoot style. And the more people we get in front of, the more money we raise, more children's lives we save. So back to the topic at hand. When the clocks spring forward an hour here in the UK and what it means to runners. So it's probably going to be more relevant to frequent or regular runners, and especially relevant to runners who generally run in the evenings or later in the afternoons, because they're the ones that are going to be impacted the most. But that's one of the true things about the UK to live in, which is it's something that personally I don't always moan about it quite often, but it makes you cherish it as well. And that's the seasons we have here in the UK, and the fact that the clocks move forward an hour in the spring and they fall back an hour in the autumn. We always remember it: spring forward and fall for autumn, fall back. It's always at kind of 6 monthly kind of intervals really that this occurs. And for me as a runner, I'm running every single day. I come up to my 5-year anniversary on the 31st of May. And for me, it's huge. Coming through spring when the clocks spring forward is massive, because all of a sudden I get to run at times like this, where it's just beautiful. A beautiful evening to run, bright, sunny, vibrant, makes you feel great. Whereas a couple of months ago, running at this time, probably less than a couple of months ago, a few weeks ago, running at this time, I would have been running in the dark. It was cold, gloomy, with a head torch. And it's a very, very different kind of mindset to running when you're faced with the proposition of running in the dark, cold, wet, windy, miserable conditions in your winter attire, or you're running in the sun, in the sunshine, clear blue skies, in your shorts and t-shirt or shorts and a vest. Massive psychological difference it has to a runner. And I've talked about this in the past. The reality is far worse than the actual, the thought process is far worse than the actual reality of running in whatever condition, you know, because as soon as you get out there and it's cold, wet, dark, you fall into your kind of stride. And I've had some of my most enjoyable runs in the dark, in the cold, wet winter conditions. And in the same flip side, just because it looks amazingly nice conditions to run in the evening, if it's sunny, it might be blowing a gale. It's blowing quite a breeze today actually, and it might be a really unenjoyable run. So you never really know, but psychologically it makes a huge difference. And I also love this stage of the year because I find there's a lot of change in all aspects of your life with the seasons. And certainly when you come through the spring into the spring season, where, you know, if you look around me, look over there, these are kind of arable farming fields, and you can see the crops starting to grow over here. You can start to see the greenery on the trees again. You start to see flowers. It's just a time where you feel positive. It's hard not to feel positive. The things are moving forwards in a proactive, positive way. You do have to be mindful that seasonally you're going to get the contrarian side of that, or the polar opposite side of it in the autumn, where things are dying, leaves are falling, and you know, everything's starting to look barren and cold and wet. But I just love this time of year where you're seeing nature really kind of starting to grab hold of the landscape again, and it's wonderful. You see a lot of wildlife as well, and it's just really good for the mind, body and soul. So I think learnings from my diary today, there's a few things I want to kind of cover. First and foremost is, seasons, you should try and enjoy each of them for their own reason. But I find that the spring season, when the clocks go forward an hour and you get a lot more daylight hours, the temperature generally feels like it's warming up. I feel that I get such an uplifting feeling from that, and especially as a runner, where you're a frequent runner, if you're running every day or several times a week, and you're running in the evenings, you get a huge psychological lift when it comes to this time of year, because you've just come through 6 months of grim, kind of dark, cold, damp weather conditions, not always, but for the majority, and you're now coming into a 6-month window where you get spring and summer, where you're going to get, beautiful blue skies, nature at the forefront, lovely temperature, lots of sun. It just kind of makes you feel positive. And I think not just in running, but in all aspects of life. And that's certainly not a bad place to be. You do have to be aware though, that it's cyclical, and I'll be moaning again in 5.5 months time, where we're approaching the winter season again of those dark, cold winter nights that I have to kind of plough through. But the other thing I like to say is that this is all psychological, by the way, because the reality of running is that it's always the thought which is worse than the reality in most instances. And I often found some of my most enjoyable runs being in the worst of conditions, in the cold winter months, and some of my least enjoyable ones are when I've overheated in what you'd look at and think, oh wow, that would be amazing to run in those conditions. So the reality is often not as bad as what the thought can be. But I do think from a psychological mindset perspective, this time of year is really good for the mind, body and soul. So anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Any questions or comments, drop me a line. I'll respond to anything relevant. And please don't forget that this vlog is part of a fundraiser of saving the lives of children by attempting the ultimate ultramarathon of run vlogging on consecutive days, a distance of lap of the world, barefoot style. And the more people we get in front of, more money we raise, more children's lives we save, which is why I do this every single day. Thank you as always. Stay positive, stay happy, and I'll see you again tomorrow.